what's going on, gamers? This is hopefully going to be a quick little video giving my initial impressions of how I feel about Lyfe. And I guess, like, just to get out the way, I think she's very fun. I think she's cool. Whether or not she's good, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm sure I'll have some form of opinion on her in, like, I don't know, maybe a week or so, once I get some better logistics for her. But in this video, I just want to give a quick rundown of how she works, and then I just want to briefly talk about how I really feel about her, outside of her being fun. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about her skills, or I guess like her whole kit. We'll just use kit. So her standard skill, basically what she does is that she dashes forward quickly, dealing up to 5 instances of kinetic damage, and she marks targets with something called instant insight. Now, with instant insight, each time you do the little dodge charge, which we'll jump into that a bit later, it hits a target if it's marked, and you hit a target with the mark. You then fire an additional shot called Insight Ray at each mark on the target, and each ray deals 30% of the final damage of her skill, basically. Or it's just like a decrease to 30% of final damage. Let's just roll with that. Also, additionally as well, as it says in the kit, does up to, or as it says earlier in the standard skill, she deals up to 5 instances of kinetic damage. So that means she can only mark up to 5 targets. But additionally as well, if you're fighting a target with multiple parts, then each part gets a separate mark, but that only goes up to 3 marks per target. So if you're fighting a boss, for example, you can only mark them 3 times in total. So keep that in mind. Additionally, she also has a bonus passive where she moves and dodges faster, which in my opinion, I don't notice too much, so I'm not 100% sure on what like the numbers are with this little increase she gets. And each time she shoots an enemy target, it gives her 3 dodge shot charge, plus an additional 1 charge if the target has an instant insight mark on them. And then Lyfe can dodge to consume all 60 stacks of dodge shot charges and perform said dodge shot, Jesus Christ, during which her anti-interruption ability increases and her final damage taken decreases by 50%, but she's not invincible. Also, additionally, for each 1% of her crit rate, her dodge shot ballistic damage increases by 1%, and for each 1% increase in her rate of fire, it also increases her ballistic damage by 1%. Now for her neural skills, I think these are like mandatory for her, period. Like these are the first 2 you should grab. If you're somebody who's like low level or you're new to the game and not sure, make sure you grab these for the skill, because the first one makes it so that when she's equipped with a kinetic weapon, she gains 3 dodge shot charges even when the shot ricochets. This is just going to help with consistency. Make sure to pick that up. But the one that I think you should go for first is that after using her standard skill, she immediately fills the dodge shot charge meter. And that's like a large chunk of her damage come from the dodge shot charge thing. So grab that one first. That one's like a must-have, period. And since we went over the dodge shot stuff, we could just talk about an alignment quickly, and then we can head back over to the rest of her kit. So she can only hold up to 60 charges, and when it's up to 60 charges, the next time you initiate a dodge with Lyfe, you then proc the dodge shot stuff. This decreases the stamina cost of your dodge shot by 50%, or not your dodge shot, but your dodge by 50%, and consumes 10 damage to perform the dodge shot, and it deals 10 instances of ballistic damage that have 100% chance to crit. And for each 100 alignment index, you increase the final damage of your dodge shot by 10%. If your ammo is insufficient, i.e. if it's below 10, you decrease the final damage of your dodge shot by 50%. So I guess try to make sure you maintain that if you can. So yeah, her support skill, which is the skill you use when she's off the field, is borderline useless. All it does is just deal damage, and that's about it. So moving on from that, with her ultimate. Now with her ultimate, she goes into this little state where she shoots in a 360-degree radius for 10 seconds. She deals 1 instance of kinetic damage every 0.2 seconds to the nearest 10 targets within range. In said state, she has increased interruption ability, and she also takes 50% decrease in final damage, but she can move in this state as well. When a target is more than 10 meters away from Lyfe, the damage of her ultimate skill gradually decreases as the distance increases to a minimum of 50%. So basically, this decrease in damage only caps out to about half her damage if they're far away from Lyfe. Probably shouldn't be popping it like when you're far away from enemies in the first place, but that is there if you do end up in a situation like that. While in said state, you can end it you can end it with the press of the ultimate again, and it immediately starts to cool down as soon as the state ends. However, this is like the big part of her ultimate. Whenever you pop the ultimate within 10 seconds after marking an enemy with the instant insight mark, you decrease the U energy consumed by 10 for each marked target, up to a max of 60, which makes sense because the ult has a cost of 60. But keep this in mind, is that you cannot stack this effect, as each time you use the standard skill, it resets. So for example, if you mark a target and you only get 3 marks, and then you use the standard skill again to remark them again, you're only going to maintain the 3 marks. So your cost isn't going to go down to 0, it's going to maintain at 6 or 30, I mean. So yeah. For her like neural skills, she picked these up as well, as the ult is part of her kit. You're going to probably be using that frequently, I would say. The first neural skill allows the ultimate to deal 15% more damage to targets with at least 1 mark on them, and for each additional mark it increases by an additional 5%. So I believe you get an additional 10% at most, so it goes up to 25 if you have 3 marks on a target. And after each dodge shot, you decrease the cooldown of the ultimate by 1. So yeah. Her manifestations, I don't cover these often, but I think these are probably important. To be honest, I looked over this yesterday on stream, and everything after M2 looks to be kind of optional. Like her first 2 manifestations looks to be very important for maintaining her damage and helping with her DPS. The first manifestation makes it so that your dodge shots no longer consume stamina, and you increase the final damage to dodge shot. That's probably going to be important if there's a way to, like, I guess, use dodge shots like extremely frequently. So got to pick that up, but in my opinion, M2 is the one that I think is going to be very important for her damage, as after she performs a dodge shot, she gains 20 charges. So instead of you having to gain 60, you only need to gain 40. Very important. But after that, it's mostly just minor damage increases from the looks of it. I'm not sure on the calcs, as I'm not a math guy. But M5, with a 20% damage or extra kinetic damage when equipped with a kinetic weapon, looks minor. Increased damage of Insight Ray at M4 is minor. M3 may be interesting. She deals 12% more ballistic damage to targets with at least 1 Insight mark, and for each additional mark, it increases by 3%. I'm not 100% sure on how this calculates, like in terms of like the math, and because it says 12%, but like, is that really a 12% more increase of damage, or like how does the math work right there? But yeah, no, I'll probably just say go with M2 and then stop, unless you want to go for M5. It's completely up to you. But yeah, that's basically how she works. Now, when I was using her yesterday, I used her in the story mode at trial, because at the time of me streaming, I had like terrible logistics and I was going for her weapons anyway. So I was like, I'm just not going to level up the 4-star, as it's not that important. So I'm not going to judge her off the damage from my life. But for the one given in trial, it gives max out logistics. It gives you her weapon as well. The logistics aren't perfect. I think he had like shield construction efficiency on it. I think the stats were, I believe, attack and alignment index. But her damage, like outside of the dodge shots, were like okay, and then with the dodge shots, they were good. The only thing I'm concerned about is like, obviously I think she's going to be great at mobbing. I think that's where she's mainly built to do. But in terms of bossing, I'm going to be curious, because when I was using her, I wasn't 100% sure on what she would be like with bossing. But then again, it might just be a skill issue on my part, because I think the main issue I have is that since a lot of her damage is locked behind the dodge shots, I have to somehow manage to get dodge shots consistently, but the best way to get it is using the skill. Obviously, you can't do that when the skill's on cooldown. Which leads me to our next train of thought, is that maybe you can help mediate that with the logistics. So I'm just assuming here, when it comes to the logistics, I'm guessing the stats are probably going to be like top 3 attack, alignment index, and maybe skill haste. And I think shooting crit rate or crit damage might be like the top 5. In what particular order, I'm not sure. If I had to assume for myself, probably alignment index with attack or skill haste. And the reason why I say skill haste is because skill haste decreases the cooldown of your standard skill. And considering that you want to pop that as much as you can, it's looking to be kind of important. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure like the number of guys will figure this out. Like Archive Rising, for example, will probably already have some video out by the time I post this or something. But yeah, that's pretty much my main thoughts on her. I'm gonna try to use her for a couple of days, and if my opinions change or I feel as though I might be a little bit wrong with a lot of things in this video, I'll make a follow-up. If not, if it's like something minor, probably just gonna be a community post. But yeah, that's really how I feel about Lyfe. If you do enjoy the way I do my videos or things like that, do consider subscribing. If not, it's cool. Other than that, I'll see you all later. Please let me know how y'all feel about her, because I could be completely wrong. I'm more than open to being wrong. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. Hope you have a great day, and yeah.